about 15 feet away from a person when you're talking. That's usually a little less than an arm's length away for most people. People will generally find ways to let you know when they want you to get closer.
That was the creepy part.
Keep the conversation positive. It's never good manners to make fun of people or be mean to them, to their faces or behind their backs.
Did you look at her elbows lately? Can you look at them? They're so scaly.
Elbows?
I'm like, can you just like comb your hair?
Remember, you can be a bully with words as well as fists. It's also poor manners to spread rumors or gossip.
For today, waited for 15 minutes.
You should try and avoid excessive complaining and whining.
I'm already late. There's so much traffic at that time of day.
It's not only poor manners.
Halfway now?
It's really annoying. For most people, using crude language or talking about bodily functions is a real turnoff. And think about whom you're talking to.
So there are these two sailors that walk into a bar.
The things one guy might say to another in private might not be appropriate to say in front of a young lady, or a mother, or a father. So make sure your conversation is appropriate to your audience. What's appropriate may be different in different parts of the country. For example, in the southern United States, it's considered appropriate for children and teenagers to call adults sir or ma'am.
Drew, you getting Greek?
Okay, so hold on one second. Do you remember yesterday when you, Colleen, started talking and I said you really need to know who your audience is, and you started talking about how you were clarifying what Disney things you did like and didn't like. And I said you need to be careful because somebody at the table might actually like all of Disney stuff. So that's kind of what they're talking about here is, how you might talk, I'll give you a good example. How two guys might talk in a locker room probably is not going to be the same conversation as in a classroom or in front of family members or something like that. And two girls might be on the phone talking about something that might be just between them that they wouldn't necessarily share with a bunch of other people. Yes, actually.
Actually, the person she was talking to likes Disney, because I'm that kind of funny.
Okay. But this is the thing. It's a fine line because sometimes people think things are really funny and other people are really offended by them. That's why this is so tricky.
I was offended when she said it, but I think it's funny now.
Okay. Well, that's actually really, I'm glad you brought that up. So that's actually good for you to hear, Colleen. So initially she was a little bit offended by it. Now she thinks it's a little bit funny. So that's actually a really good example.
Oh. From your jacket?
No, ma'am. I think it could be a timing problem, Drew. I've got a receipt on my desk from when I took the car in last week. Could you check that and see if they checked the timing? Yes, sir.
It sounds like foul plug to me, Dan.
Let's review our conversation manners. Make sure to listen to others and don't dominate the conversation. Watch people's faces to see if they're interested when you talk. Pause frequently to give others a chance to talk or change the topic of conversation.
What does that pausing also allow you to do?
Stop.
Well, you stop when you pause. But if you're pausing to let other people speak, what does that also allow you to do?
Listen to what they
And
have to say.
Wait.
And what does it give you?
A break.
A break.
To
Calm down. To
see if they're interested, but what does it do for in the future when you make another comment?
To make sure, like,
It's okay. It gives you a chance to collect your own ideas. So you can actually think a little bit ahead about the next thing. For example, if you're being interviewed by somebody and they have a question, you're giving them an answer. It actually gives them a chance to formulate their next question. And you can see that actually this is what we all do whenever we have a conversation. Okay?
Try not to interrupt when others are speaking. It's good to stand about 18 inches away from a person when you're talking. Say please when asking someone to do something, and thank you when they do something for you. Think about who you are talking to, and remember, crude language or jokes can offend people. Keep your conversation positive. People tend to want to be around positive people. Find out about family, group, and regional customs, so you know what language manners are appropriate.
What do they mean by that?
Like you
Regional customs?
to listen to people around you, I think.
While you're trying to figure out regional customs, you may be observing and listening. But what does regional mean?
Around the area.
Around the area. So what's around our area?
Tree.
It could be Franklin and the surrounding towns. It actually could be what?
Massachusetts.
And even bigger.
People.
New England.
Okay.
Okay? So New Englanders probably do have their own customs, and that would be a regional area. People down south have their own customs. Actually, Mitch Schmaltz and I were trying to figure out, we think that a lot of this is recorded down south because a lot of people have southern accents. And so even
do?
in... What?
They do?
Yeah.
I didn't notice that.
Actually, when you listen to the girl talk about the scaly elbows, she had a pretty strong southern accent. And what's interesting is they did this thing, they made this video for manners, but I also have a feeling that they couldn't help but have a southern influence on them making the video. So it's just important to know where things come from. So people out west, you know, that's a culture out there too. And even globally, people in, you know, other countries. So you need to kind of keep that in mind. For example, do you know, Jose, in the U.S., when we talk with each other, what do we do with our eyes?
Give eye contact.
Okay, do they do that in other countries? You know? No, what happens? Like in Japan?
They kind of tend to look away.
They look away, why? Because to look directly in somebody else's eyes is what? It's disrespectful.
Disrespectful.
Why?
Here, it's disrespectful to not do that.
Why
It's
not?
just the culture. It's just the way the culture is. So it's actually less
But you can look
important
at
to
somebody, right?
You can look at somebody, but it's not necessarily good to make eye contact over there. So it's less important to know why, Colleen, and just more important to know that it's different, that's all.
Oh.
But it's important to make eye contact, even in other regions. Even
Well,
in other
Not
You
always.
have to know in Japan, I'm going to tell you this, if you have a representative from Japan who comes to the U.S. and frequently does business, they probably know that it's our culture to look in the eyes. But we would
So
have
how
to,
are we supposed to talk to them if we can't give eye contact with each
so
other?
if you ever come across somebody that you think may have different, like a different set of manners and rules and that sort of thing,
Follow it?
follow it, but maybe ask what they are, or study ahead of time.
But won't they get offended?
I think they will be less offended if you ask than if you do something that's just offending.
If you say, are you something, then
Yeah,
that
you
might
would
be a
say,
little
you would
bit.
say, are you okay if I maintain eye contact with you? You could say something like that.
Hey,
and they
I
may
meant to
say-
ask you what
They may
country
say-
do you come from? Is that rude?
I might not put it that way.
Oh,
You know, how could you find that out, actually?
the voices
Maybe,
sometimes.
maybe. What's a real simple question that a lot of people ask each other that doesn't say what country do you come from, but you can kind of get the same information? And often it's on forms you fill out.
You could ask them, for example, are you from Japan?
No.
Maybe, but that's not what I'm thinking of. When you fill out forms, you know, it'll ask
Like you look at
your
what they're
name.
from.
It's a date, yeah, where you were born. So you could ask them where they were born.
Okay.
And that would be kind of a way to get that information and not be so direct by it.
So,
Amanda, this is my roommate Maria. This is my friend Amanda from COP.
From the moment two people meet, they form impressions about
This
each
is
other.
the girl that actually,
And
the girl in the
about
black
the
coat has
person
a
who
really
introduces
strong
them.
accent.
When you're doing the
It's just hard to
introducing,
hear.
make sure you get it right. Here's one way a young man might introduce his friend to his mother.
Hi, Mom.
might do this.
Hi, Mom. This is Bill.
No, he
Okay,
should
now
stop.
let's see it's the right one.
Hi, Mom. Hey. This is Bill Frank from my science class. Bill, this is my mom, Mrs. Johnson.
Hey, Bill, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Mrs. Johnson.
Fred, tell me about the project y'all were working on for your science.
Yeah, so
I just made some chocolate chip cookies. Would you like one?